Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for gathering here today for this debate. My name is Zach Froh, and I'm currently the chair of the National Executive for the Canadian Obesity Network Student New Professional Organization, PhD candidate in the Faculty of Health Science, working with the HALO group. For those of you who aren't familiar with CON, the Canadian Obesity Network is a non-for-profit organization that is designed to connect professionals, clinicians, researchers, people in industry who have an interest in the prevention and management of obesity. To date, we've connected over 6,000 members across Canada and the world. And the CON SNP group, the Student New Professional Group, is an umbrella organization from CON. And to date, we have over 1,500 active members who participate actively in knowledge translation and capacity building events such as this today. So this event has been very widely advertised, not only through posters, but through the internet. It's been advertised on blogs, Weighty Matters, Dr. Friedhoff, Obesity Panacea from my friend and colleague Travis Saunders from the HALO group as well. For those of you who are not members of the Obesity Network, it's free to join, and there are many benefits of joining. You see one of us after, and we'll explain it to you. Sign up at www.obesitynetwork.ca. So without further ado, I would like to first introduce our moderator for the event, because since it is a heated debate, we thought it would be best to have a referee. Our moderator is a new professional herself, and it is Dr. Rachel Colley. She is a recent recipient of one of the Healthy Active Living and Obesity Junior Research Chairs at CHEO, which is funded by the CHEO Foundation and the Lawson Foundation. Dr. Colley completed her PhD in Australia in 2007 and joined the HALO team as a postdoctoral fellow in 2007. She brings expertise in applied physiology and specific skills relating to the measurement of energy expenditure and body composition. She is currently the scientific officer for the Healthy Active Kids Canada and led the writing of the report card in 2008, 2009, and 2010. She is the lead of the physical activity analysis team at Health Canada, statistic measures, Canadian health measures and statistics area. She has recently initiated a new study investigating the influence of the interplay of fitness, motor skills, activity preference, self-efficacy, and physical activity, and healthy weight management in overweight children. So without further ado, our moderator, Dr. Colley.
Okay, thank you very much, Zach. Can everyone hear me in the back? Sounds okay? Okay. So thanks very much for coming. It is my great honor and privilege to be here today to participate in this debate. I think it's a very exciting day for CON and the CON SNP group, and thanks to Zach and his team for putting this together. I think we're definitely lucky today, and I think it's going to be an entertaining show, to say the least. So just switch over here. So just wanted to introduce the topic a little bit. I don't think it's any shock or surprise to the audience here that we have an obesity epidemic in this country. Over half of Canadian adults are overweight or obese. About a quarter of children are overweight or obese and facing the same fate. So I think right now we have a crisis, but I think the impending crisis that's coming is something that we really need to be concerned about. So a few things just in the title of the debate that I'd like to draw your attention to before we start. So we're going to be looking at what is more critical between dietary intake and energy expenditure. So keep this more critical statement in your mind throughout the debate to try and ascertain which of the two debaters is doing a good job of arguing which one is the most critical. And then remember also what we're talking about, both treatment and prevention, because I think this has an impact on the debate and the question that we're asking. So to quickly go through the plan for today, this is the rough agenda. So we're just going through the introductory remarks now. There's going to be a coin toss to determine which of the two debaters is going to speak first. And then each will get 20 minutes to give their side of the argument. So we're talking about pro-exercise and pro-diet. Then we're going to switch to 5 minutes rebuttal to each of those first arguments. And then hopefully, without too much fist fighting and elbowing up here at the front, we'll come to a consensus summary by our two very distinguished speakers. And then we'll have hopefully time at the end for sure for question and answer. So I think before we get started, I really have to set the scene of who we have in front of us here today. So first off, for pro exercise, Dr. Robert Ross, currently a professor of the School of Kinesiology and Health Studies in the Department of Medicine, Division of Endocrinology and Metabolism at Queen's University. Now the presenters asked me not to give a formal introduction, but I'm going to go through and give a couple of highlights. So Dr. Robert Ross obtained a bachelor degree in physical education from McGill. He then continued with a master's and PhD in exercise physiology at the University of Montreal. He has been the past president of the Canadian Society for Exercise Physiology, a fellow with the ACSM, and director of the Centre for Obesity Research and Education at Queen's, and was recently awarded a research chair at Queen's University. So Dr. Ross's research program, if you're not aware, focuses on the identification and management of obesity and related comorbid conditions. In recent years, his lab has conducted a number of randomized controlled trials to determine the efficacy of lifestyle-based interventions designed to reduce abdominal obesity and related health risk. I actually had the privilege of working with Dr. Ross way back in the day when I was attending Queen's University, and what intrigued me about Dr. Ross's work was his unwavering passion to investigate the impact of exercise on the body despite no change in the number on the scale. So I think we're really lucky to have Dr. Ross here to talk about his seminal work in this area. To give you a sense of some of the breadth of his work, I'm just going to read a couple of titles from key papers over the years. So exercise without weight loss is an effective strategy for obesity reduction in obese individuals with and without type 2 diabetes. Influence of diet and exercise on skeletal muscle and visceral adipose tissue in men. So just gives you a bit of a flavor of the type of work that Dr. Ross is bringing to the table. So secondly, for pro diet, we have Dr. Yoni Friedhoff. And a totally different perspective here. We have a more clinical background in training. He's currently a family doctor in Ottawa and medical director of Ottawa's Bariatric Medical Institute. This is a multidisciplinary, ethical, evidence-based nutrition and weight management center. Dr. Friedhoff graduated with honors from the University of Toronto Medical School, but very early in his medical career, he realized that the medical community was not treating obesity in the most effective way that it possibly could, and also the training of medical doctors was not adequate. In March 2005, he became one of only 3 physicians in Canada to be board certified by the American Board of Bariatric Medicine. Dr. Friedhoff has been referred to as one of Canada's most outspoken obesity experts, and the Canadian Medical Association Journal once dubbed him as a Canadian nutritional watchdog. In 2010, Dr. Friedhoff helped to co-found Reality Coalition Canada, a non-profit group of diverse Canadian experts whose mission is to promote evidence-based obesity prevention and treatment policies and messages. Some of you may be aware of Dr. Friedhoff's thoughts and musings through reading his very entertaining and at times controversial blog called Weighty Matters. So with no further ado, I'd like to move forward with getting the debate off and running. So we're going to start with a coin toss. So if I could ask the 2 speakers to come up. I ask you to welcome the speakers to the floor.
You can call.
We're using a euro here. Call it in the air.
I have the choice? Go ahead. It's always nice to follow.
Okay, please welcome our pro-exercise debater, Dr. Robert Ross. You're this one?
Okay. I have to project. Does that mean speak loud? Okay.
So you might want to pull this out and you can use your arrow there to get
All right. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, Rachel, indeed. And thank God that was the abridged introduction. No minutes at all. But I'm indeed, it's an honor to be here today. I want to thank Zach, Travis, and Rachel, and all the S&P component of CON. It's indeed an honor to be here. And it's indeed a privilege to share the podium with Yoni. I'm a great admirer of Yoni's and the work that he does. And You can understand then it comes with a heavy heart that I have to defeat him badly here today, because unfortunately I have overwhelming evidence to say that it's all about the feet and nothing to do with the fork. Well, let me begin with something that we all know very much. As Rachel said, we have a problem. That's really not a surprise to us. But really the question that I want to begin with, and I essentially have two, and this is the first one. We look at the increase that's happened over the last 5 decades, and we ask ourselves, in the context of today's discussion, what role nutrition or physical activity might play. And to put the question a little bit more specifically, I suppose, I would ask the question, do trends in physical activity over the past 5 years relate in any way to concurrent changes in body weight in adults that we've seen over this time period? If the answer to that is yes, then I think we can say with some certainty that the feet play a role in the causation of the increase in obesity prevalence that we've seen. So very recently, I was very pleased to see, because this data is hard to get. This is the work of Dr. Tim Church. Dr. Tim Church works at the Pennington Research Institute in the United States. And of course, in the very brief time I have today, I can't give too many of the details of how he did it, but he's used the Department of Labor and the Bureau of Labor Statistics data that you can get there. This is solid data. It's not self-report. And basically, he made a couple of fundamental observations that I would like to share with you here. So if you look at occupational physical activity, which of course takes up an awful large part of your day, he and his colleagues made this observation. You can very clearly see here that if you look, and again, this is occupational activity, you can see very clearly over the 5 days, sedentary activity requiring less than 2 meds, or 2 times the resting equivalent, has increased. And light activity has increased dramatically over that time. But even more dramatic, we see a profound, almost 25% reduction in manufacturing-type jobs, which, of course, involve a great expenditure in physical activity. Now, this isn't planned activity, but this is activity, I dare say, contributes much more to the increase or decrease in your body weight than would the 30 minutes that you do in terms of following the guidelines. And basically, the upshot of what he found is basically this, that if you look over the 5 decades, in both men and in women, you've seen a profound decrease in the occupational related energy expenditure, such that in men and women, this is the daily deficit that you've seen over this time period. Now, with this kind of information, you can predict weight gain. All else being equal, if this is the deficit that you see due to the decrease in physical activity, you can do something like this. And again, I can't provide the details. The reference is there for you. But this is what you can do. This happens to be in men. This would be the weight gain that you would see over the 5 decades. Now, if you parallel that with the actual weight increase that we've seen over that same time period, and this is weight derived from NHANES, for those of you unaware, this is a representative sample, a weighted sample of the United States. So we have 2 very good data sets here, and as you can see, just looking at the black bar and the white bar, almost all of the weight gain that we've seen over 5 decades is predicted by the decrease in occupational physical activity, and we see a parallel observation in the women. So this led Dr. Church and his colleagues to suggest that the daily decrease in occupational-related energy expenditure accounts for almost all of the increase in mean body weight for adult U.S. men and women. Well, what about children? What do we know about the increase that we've seen in children, again, in the context of nutrition versus physical activity, which is Yoni and I's charge here today. So if we consider this question, what are the associations between obesity, physical activity, and dietary behaviors in children? And again, with